Okay, so in today's video about Algorand, I want to check out this part of the price action right in here and talk to you about two different possibilities, and I'm going to tell you which one based on the current situation might be in play and what is generally going to be next for Algorand. So with that said, hi everyone, welcome back. I hope you are having a great time with your family and loved ones. And if you remember, the last time that we talked about Algorand, we were somewhere around these areas, and I was saying, look, in my opinion, there's a very high chance that our move up is going to continue for quite a bit, and any kind of move on the downside is just going to be a consolidation pattern, and after it's over, we can definitely count on a continuation of the move up. Now, specifically in the previous video, we said either we are going to do something like this, maybe just a very small consolidation and then another big move on the upside, or maybe we are going to get a relatively deeper move on the downside. And I think this move down right in here definitely falls into the second category. Now, just because we are having, I would say, a decent move down doesn't mean that in here we are actually going to be bearish. Absolutely not. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute. It just means that we are actually gathering the power for the next phase, which I think it's actually going to be absolutely magnificent. Now, why is it that overall in Algorand we are bullish in these areas, and we believe that soon we're going to get some more huge moves on the upside? That comes down to Elliott waves. If you are a new viewer, which I do know a lot of you are, because these days every time that I make new videos I get a bunch of new viewers and subs, you should know that if you want to argue, for example, we're going to have our final bottom around here, maybe this is like a very important support, then okay, you need to be able to find off of the lowest low in this region a 5-wave up. This specific example is a normal 5-wave, which the rules for us are we shouldn't have overlapping of the waves between wave 2 and 4, and in any kind of impulsive movement, wave 3 right in here should not be the smallest wave. And for subwaves, you know it, if you are a regular viewer, we must have 5-wave up into wave 1, 3, and 5. Let's just draw the waves. There we go. And for wave 2 and 4, we can have different possibilities. Doesn't really matter a whole lot. Let's say maybe, sure, an ABC into 4 and, yep, a WXY structure into wave 2. Understood? Okay, let's go on the live chart and see what is happening. And first, we are going to go on some higher time frames, maybe daily chart. So here's the deal. In the long term, in Algorand, in my opinion, we are having an ABC on the downside with all the subwaves to somewhere around the lowest slope, which suggests that some sort of a bottom is going to be in. Is this the only bullish sign? No. What do we have off of the lowest slope? An extremely clear, I would say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up, as you can see, with all the subwaves, and followed by that, I believe that to about the lowest low in this region, around, let's say, 9.5 cents, we are having a correction down, probably a WXY. I believe it is actually in form of a double zigzag. Now, on a higher degree, this is an extremely bullish setup. You can say, look, this is 1, this is 2, and at the moment, we are on our way to complete a wave 3, and then we're going to get correction for 4, another move up into wave 5. And in terms of Elliott waves, it's very important for us to understand that wave 3 is usually quite a big move on the upside. That's why I want to argue that in Algorand, not only this move up right in here is not over yet, but also we are going to actually continue this move for quite some time. And I just cannot believe that from here, for example, we're going to get a huge move down and take the lowest low. Sure, anything is possible and there is no certainty in any market, but based on the evidence that I'm seeing, at least at the moment, I just cannot get behind that idea. No, most likely we are dealing in here with a bullish scenario. And also in this area, what do we have off of the lowest low? I would argue this one, this choppy move is actually a correction for wave 2, and at the moment, on a lower degree relative to that 5 up that I showed you earlier, we are on our way, I would say, to complete a wave 3 and then 4 and then 5. So you see, even in some lower time frames, it seems like that in Algorand we are extremely bullish, and any kind of move on the downside is just going to be a correction structure, and soon it is going to be over. And this move down right in here, in my opinion, is definitely not an exception. Now, for this move, we can have different possibilities. I can actually come up with a scenario in here that suggests, believe it or not, the bottom is set. And here is how. You see, I can tell you maybe we are having starting from this high and a correction for wave B, and this can be like 5 down to about here into our ceiling, followed by that. This can be, I think, if you go on some lower time frames, you can identify the subways for it, an ABCD, a triangle structure, and then probably starting from this high, I would say we are going to have another A, B, C in form of a zigzag structure right in here. We can also say maybe the beginning of our A leg is going to be right in here, and overall in this area we can have, instead of a zigzag, a flat structure. Doesn't really matter. The point that I'm trying to make is this: you can definitely find some subwaves that suggest the bottom is in, and in this case, for example, our correction is going to be, you know what, a WXY in form of a double zigzag. Do we have some more bullish scenarios in here? Yes. What did we say at the beginning of the video? If you want to be bullish, then you need to be able to find off of the recent lowest low a 5 wave on the upside. Let's go on maybe 15-minute chart and see what is happening in this move. So as you can see, first, the nature of this move right in here does actually look quite like an impulsive movement rather than a correction structure. And the fact that we can identify a 1, 2, and then probably I would say to about here, wave 3, and then correction for another move up into wave 5 is definitely another bullish sign. And I can tell you, well, okay, this was a 5 wave up, followed by that, this is a correction down. You might think it's an ABC, but I would argue it's actually a double zigzag. And this can be also another 5 wave on the upside. Now, according to the bullish scenario, which suggested that the bottom is in, we can have from here 5 up into 1. This move down is just a correction for wave 2, and after it's over, or maybe it's over already, we're gonna get a big move up into wave 3 and 4 and 5. Excuse me, there we go. And even after this white 5 wave up, our move up is not going to be over. Why is that? Because this is actually a wave 1 correction for 2, and this thing is just going to be the sub waves for a larger degree wave 3, and then we're gonna have correction for 4, and hopefully another huge move on the upside in Algorand into this wave 5. So this is one possibility. Can we have another scenario? The answer is yes. I can tell you, well, okay, this thing is actually a 5 wave up, and followed by that we are having a correction, and we can have in here another 5 wave up, but maybe this is not going to be that strong, and instead we may have in this area on a higher degree an A, B, C zigzag, and after it's over, we're going to get another move on the downside. Now, here's a very important point, and I need you to fully pay attention to what I'm about to say right now. If this scenario right in here is going to happen to Algorand, in my opinion, it's actually going to be much more bullish, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. But I want you to understand, if something like this happens, just because, for example, we're going to get a move down in here doesn't mean that we're going to be bearish. No, we are in fact going to be much more bullish relative to the previous scenario. And personally, and for me, I would much like for this thing happen in Algorand rather than the previous possibility, which suggested that from here we're going to get a straight move on the upside. Now, what is the reason for it? Well, you see, in Elliott waves and even classic analysis, when you are having a consolidation pattern, the idea is that after it, you're going to get another move on the upside. And here is a very important point. Depending on how long this corrective movement is going to take, you can actually have a decent idea of how extended the next move up is going to get. So what's the conclusion? If we're going to have in here a relatively drawn out correction structure, then we can count on the next move to be absolutely magnificent and get very much extended. Do we have some examples for that? Absolutely. A classic example, I would say, is actually XRP. Let's go on Ripple's chart. There we go. So maybe go on weekly time frame. Okay, here is the situation. If you want to argue that we are having a correction structure in this area starting from this high and maybe ending to somewhere around this low, and for example, this is actually quite a popular scenario, maybe we're gonna have an ABCD, a triangle structure, then okay, this thing is a 7-year long-term drawn out correction, and you could actually have a solid guess in this area of what might be next in XRP, which is an absolutely sharp and a strong move on the upside, and it is exactly what we are getting right now. So it's not actually that much of a surprise, for me at least, that XRP is going up in this manner. And I would argue this move up is going to get extremely extended, and our bull run in Ripple is just far from over. And this is a very classic example of what a drawn out correction structure is going to do to the next phase up. And I do believe that in Algorand, we are actually having something similar, but on some lower time frames. So let's have our final conclusion and wrap up today's video. In my opinion, in Algorand, in the short term, meaning probably in the next couple of weeks, we are going to have, I would say, another 60 to even 100% move on the upside. Now, in the short term, in this area, we can have different possibilities. We can say, according to one scenario, that the bottom is in, and basically these are a series of 1-2s, which suggests probably in the next 24 to 48 hours, we are going to see some more big moves on the upside in Algorand. On the other hand, according to another scenario, we can say maybe we're gonna have something like this, and then after it, a move on the downside. Personally, for me, I'm liking this scenario quite a bit better. However, I'm thinking I may not get that lucky, and from here we can actually start our move on the upside. Nonetheless, the point that I'm trying to make is this: Algorand at the moment, in my opinion, is building momentum and gathering the power for the next phase up, which again, I told you, is going to be probably a 60 to even 100% move. And if you see a move down in here, you should not be worried at all. Our bull run, in my opinion, in Algorand is just far from over, and one way or the other, I believe this chart is screaming bullish. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Algorand's chart. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next video, I hope you have a wonderful time with your family and loved ones. Goodbye.